All right.
All right. Finally, let's start it. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us on our interview series with Uzbek Diaspora members. On our first interview, we talked to the serial tech entrepreneur, a very successful man, Boburak Ilkhanov. And our today's guest is the founder of Sobirovs law firm, Rakhmad Sobirov. And based on my personal observation, he's a very open-minded, very enthusiastic, and altruistic leader who's willing to share his experience and help people in need. And he's very dedicated to a contribution in the general good and well-being of Uzbek diaspora, which we really appreciate. And we're very glad to be speaking to you, Ahmad Akam. Thank you for sparing an hour of your life. We really appreciate it, and let's get started.
Thank you for having me, Khasan John. Thank you for Uzbek Diaspora. You guys doing great job. Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to first introduce you to our executive board members. Our marketing expert is joining from New York City, Shahloz Yadulayeva. And IT expert Sardar Akhmedov is joining from Miami. And public relations specialist Begzat Kabilu is joining from Berlin, Germany. And our communication expert Shakhadat Khamabayev is joining from Connecticut. Alrighty, we know that you're very active on social media, and that's part of the reason why many people already know about you, what you do. And can you briefly introduce yourself to our audience first?
Yeah, sure. My name is Rakhmad Sobirov, originally from Uzbekistan. Came to Canada 15 years ago. I was originally a lawyer back home, but had to go back to school in Canada. Immigrated and started law school from scratch. Did my Juris Doctor degree at the University of Ottawa and been practicing law since 2012 in Canada. I tried many areas of law, including public international law, IP, transportation, aviation. Now I'm managing immigration law firm, which we co-founded with my spouse, Firuza Jamalova, back in 2012. She's also a lawyer. So I'm not the only founder, although the company name bears my last name. It's actually, I should give her a lot of credit because she was at the forefront of running the law firm from day one. I joined as a managing lawyer in 2016 after I came back from London, UK, after practicing different types of law. So I decided to come back home to Canada.
Awesome. I just want to make a quick joke. What makes you and breaks you is your woman, right?
Yes, exactly. I'm not going to make any joke. I'll just say it. There's always a strong woman behind a very strong man. So it could be your mother, it could be your spouse, it could be your sister, or any female in your life. So there's always truth. I've seen many examples of that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. And can you tell us about your education, your degree, your major, and your transition from college to your career?
All right. Well, I completed my high school at Uzbek Turkish high schools back in 1998. There were many Uzbek Turkish high schools back then. Maybe your generation doesn't know it, but in my generation, that was the top school that you could get into. So because of that, in 1998, I graduated from that school in Tashkent, then went and got into University of World Economy and Diplomacy, International Law faculty. Did my law degree there in 5 years, then decided to go to abroad to study for my master's. I got full scholarship at the Central European University in Budapest, Hungary. So did my master's there, then did a second master's in political science at the OSCE Academy in Kyrgyzstan and partially in Austria, in Vienna. Then I joined International Criminal Court in The Hague, in the Netherlands, worked there for the Office of Prosecutor for about a year. Then I moved to Canada to realize that all my legal work doesn't allow me to practice law in Canada. So I started from zero. I control deleted everything, speaking in tech language. Then went from scratch, did my law school admission test, which is LSAT, one of the most difficult tests in the world, I say, and got into University of Ottawa. Did 3 years at Ottawa, beautiful city, cold weather, but great school. And then I joined, I did my law practice. You have to do your law practice after finishing law school at a transportation law firm. I was always interested in aviation and transportation. So then I was recruited to the aircraft manufacturing company called Bombardier Aerospace. Worked there for 4 years. Then people headhunted me to London, UK. So they transferred me to London, UK for 1 year to work for a law firm called Bird and Bird, one of the most, I think one of the oldest law firms in London. Then I went to London. By that time, I lived in Canada for many years. I had my family, my daughter, my wife based in Canada, but I had to go to London, UK. So that's the short, brief outlook of what I did in terms of legal career. In between, tried different areas of law. I tried and I didn't like. I tried and I didn't like. So it's all a trial and error kind of thing. So never regret what I tried. It made me understand that I didn't want to do certain things, and now I fully dedicate myself to managing immigration law firm. Basically, we help businesses to come to Canada. For example, U.S. businesses, because of Trump administration's immigration restrictions, now they are transferring from Silicon Valley, New York, Boston to Canada. So we help those companies to come to Canada. Overall, I think I'm happy where I am, but I never stopped exploring. I'm doing something else on the side, hustling, as they say, hustling around. But we'll see. COVID-19 opened many opportunities, so we should explore that. Let's see what this year or next year will bring.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I actually made as I said, an observation before interviewing you, right? And I found out that you're really good at elaborating the answers, which makes our interviews very interesting and appealing. And it's easy to kind of get messages from you, what you're saying, and then ask in the form of question to ask you to elaborate more on that. Yeah. So,
but you have to stop me when I make long statements. You have to stop me because I can talk for hours. Okay.
That's good. That's good for us. And next question is, how did you decide your career path back then, and what specific factors played a major role in your decision making? Like, how did you get into law?
Yeah, that's how I ended up in law. I would say I ended up in law. Well, from very young age, 7, 8 years old, I grew up in Tajikistan, right? In civil war started in 1992. At the age of 10, 11, we had to move to Uzbekistan. Although we are ethnically Uzbek, we have a lot of relatives. So when I say I'm from Uzbekistan, I also mean I'm from the whole Central Asia. So I started to question I started to asking some very ridiculous questions. For example, why it's not fair? Why it's not fair? What is justice? Is this justice that I have to move with my family from one place to another because of some political conflicts? Where is justice? Why people are getting killed? This kind of, at a very young age, I had to ask these questions. And so we came to Uzbekistan, started to, get used to new environment, new people. Of course, there were, after Soviet Union collapsed in 1992, things were very challenging. People didn't know what's going on. I didn't know what's going on. My parents didn't know what's going on with our lives. It was a very a societal shock for the former Soviet Union countries, because 2 years ago in 1990s, we were under one big umbrella. In 1991, there's no umbrella to protect you. So these all like were these thoughts hit my mind, and I started to try to understand what's just and what's not just, what is unfair. That led me to law. Although no one in my family before me or after me was interested in law. We are the family of aviators. My father is a pilot. We are more technical people. I remember my childhood fixing very old cars, Moskvich and Zhiguli and all those little cars that Soviet Union produced, right? So we are very technical. So when I decided to go to law, my father asked me this following question. He said, "Are you going to be a policeman?" Uzbekçe Melisa böyle savma. I said, no, I'm going to study law. I'm going to study law, and I'm going to study international law, which is cool because I love languages. At my high school, I was fluent in English and Turkish. Whole my life, I was at least speaking 3 or 4 languages at a time since childhood. So Tajik language, Uzbek, Russian was automatic. Then I picked up English and Turkish, and I at the university I picked up French. So this is it funneled me into international arena in terms of career choice. I never felt that I could fit Uzbekistan or Central Asia. I just wanted to go outside. That was my drive, and it is still my drive. So I ended up in law. I ended up in international law, and I think more or less I achieved, with the help of my parents, with the help of my colleagues, friends, and whoever motivated me in my life, I achieved quite an achievement for very humble beginnings. Refugee life from Tajikistan to Uzbekistan, and then trying to establish yourself, then getting this, getting that, and all this. In retrospect, I look at it and I say, thanks God that God gifted me these. Although there are so many way smarter people than me, way more motivated than me, but God gifted me these opportunities. So at the end of the day, I think we should always be thankful for what we have and what we do not have. I'm thankful for many things that I don't have. That's again, you got to stop me when you can, because otherwise I will be telling, I'll be talking for hours.
No, everything you're saying is quite relevant to what we really care about in terms of our project as Uzbek Diaspora. So I'm letting you have your own time.
Yeah.
So you said that you speak 5 languages. Is that true?
Well, it's true and not true. I speak actually 7 languages. Well, when I say speak, I can communicate in 7 languages, including French and Farsi. Farsi is, I picked it up because I spoke to many Tajik-speaking people from Dari-speaking people from Afghanistan. It's a part of my daily work. I think on a daily basis I switched from between like 4 or 5 languages in one day. I speak to Turkish clients. I then speak in English. I speak to Russian clients, Uzbek clients. Sometimes I speak many our countrymen from US who are originally from Samarkand, and they speak in Tajik, and they say, "Oh, Tojiki gab mezanet mi? Gab mezanam," and then they switch to Tajik. I think it's a communicator. It's that element of communication. When you speak their language, they feel at ease. They can open up their hearts. That's what I can say about languages. Yeah.
Awesome. That's awesome. And you also mentioned that the environment had a big influence in terms of your decision making, your choice of your career path. And we know that a lot of people, especially when they're young, they get pressured by their parents or by other people surrounding them to fit their interests or passion into something that they're not interested, So what would you suggest for people who go through this struggle in their life, especially when they're young?
Yeah, that's a question that I couldn't answer, to be honest, when I was at 17, when I was 17, 16 years old. So first of all, be open-minded, okay? Be open-minded in the sense that whatever your parents are telling you could be the right way, could be, okay? It's not the right way, but it could be. That's open-minded. And also, it could be that they're wrong in what they're trying to give you. So in that sense, be open-minded, explore. There's no lack of knowledge these days. There's no lack of information. You can find everything and anything on the internet, and like explore. Don't never stop exploring, and talk to people in the industry. Maybe you want to be a doctor, talk to doctors. Maybe you want to be a scientist, talk to scientists. So talk to the right people, be open-minded, never stop exploring, and realize that language is a key to your success. Doesn't have to be English, doesn't have to be Chinese, but learning foreign languages multiplies your capacity. So open-minded, explore, ask the experts, and learn the languages. Then naturally you will end up in the area where you want to be. Otherwise, you will be forced into certain area which you probably don't want to for your life, and you will be not content. You will not be happy. So recognize that your parents are trying to do their best for you, coming from their own luggage of expertise and life experience. They're trying to do good, but at the same time work with, working hypothesis, okay? Doesn't necessarily right or wrong, just have certain hypothesis and work one by one. Take your time, learn. I think that's the easiest way to put it. Work with hypothesis.
Awesome.
There's no wrong or right answer for that.
Amazing. Yeah, I want to apologize for the technical difficulties. I was
that's okay.
Cut off, but let's continue.
Yeah.
Thanks for the answers. And the next question is, where do you stand in terms of your career today? Like job place, years of experience, and your future goals and stuff.
Well, as a team at Sobirovs law firm, we determined our mission. Our mission is to bring the brightest, the best, and the most motivated businesses to Canada. When I say businesses, there's always human being behind the business. We want to bring the best, the brightest, the most motivated to Canada. Why? Our selfish objective is to make Canada greater, even greater. On the flip side, by helping foreigners to come to Canada, we think we are contributing for their prosperity and possibly the prosperity of their home countries, be it Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Azerbaijan, Vietnam, Chile, doesn't matter, Panama, or United States. So that's our mission. Where we stand now, I think we have to readjust ourselves to new realities of post-COVID world. The COVID has shown that we have a lot of shortcomings. We have, as a law firm, as a team, we had to, mend those shortcomings, improve them, and use as much technology as possible, and embrace, for a lack of better word, embrace working from anywhere philosophy. Okay, working from anywhere philosophy. I started to question everything in my law firm. I started questioning: do I have to be in this office? Can I work from home? Do my clients need to see my physical office in order to get credibility or not? So I'm questioning every circumstance in my law firm at the moment, and my career too. every 2 or 3 years, I start to reevaluate: am I on the right track or not? What do I want to do with my life? What is that one thing that I could dedicate my life for? I'm still exploring. Haven't found yet. But I think I want to help people to prosper. In one word, prosper in many aspects. Prosper financially, prosper personally, career-wise, and try to help them to find their own spot in the life, in their lives. At the end of the day, we leave some legacy, try to leave legacy behind us. And I'm proud to say, with my spouse and myself, we are the full-fledged law firm, the first ever full-fledged law firm created by Uzbek ethnic origins. This law firm has Uzbek roots. No matter how you present it, Canadian law firm, non-Canadian law firm, this specific team has Uzbek roots, and it will grow Uzbek roots in the future. And I hope we now have several offices around the world, several partners around the world, including African countries. So I hope to leave a very big team dedicated to bring the best, brightest, and the most motivated to Canada.
Awesome. I like the fact that you kind of look at your own career in terms at a macro scale and evaluate everything based on your own values. And I like the fact that you probably can say that your law firm has Uzbek roots, which makes us proud as well, And so you said that you own the law firm, right? But do you look at yourself as an entrepreneur or as more like a law professional?
I look at myself as an entrepreneur, engaged in the business of law. Okay, there's different types of businesses around the world, and when we look at the legal career, not many people realize that this is a business too, business in the sphere of legal services. So that's what we call business of law. So from that perspective, I'm just an entrepreneur and business owner. And of course, I practice law. I have license to practice law and give legal advice. However, my main role at the firm is to think at a macro level, to bring new clients, let's say, to expand to other global locations and so on. We are engaged in the business of law. There are some people that understand that. They think lawyers are some kind of an extension of the government. No, it's not an extension of the government. It's the business. Like you have financial services business. We have legal services business. Yeah. The main motivator, the main mission of this, well, not the mission, but the raison d'être, the reason for creation of this law firm is to make it profitable, right? Yes, on the side we somehow indirectly we affect the society, because lawyers are the key, like a transistor between the government and the citizens, right? Or the client. So you have to work ethically and not engage in any unethical behavior, and earn your livings at the same time, grow as much as you can, because you are in the business. You are not law firms are not charitable organizations, right? At the end of the day, the shareholders of the law firm have to have the margin of profit at the end of the year. Now we are approaching this year. I don't know what will be the margin of profit of the law firm around the world, but yeah, this is how it is.
Yeah, awesome. And you said that as a law firm, being able to succeed in the business also depends on the country you live in. Does it make a difference? Like you're in Canada, you could be in the States, you could be in Europe. What's the advantages, perks, or disadvantages of having a law firm in Canada?
Well, advantages of being in this profession in Canada is, one, is very well respected. lawyers, doctors, and engineers, and many other professions are very well respected. The disadvantage of this is we are in a very regulated, highly regulated profession. You have to be really careful of what you say, to whom you say, and in what way you say. So like ethics, everything is regulated. So that's why as an example, in my interaction through social media, I have a hard time giving legal advice. That's why I tell as much as I can that this is a disclaimer, this is a general information, there's no legal advice given, and people get offended in terms of, oh, why you always talk about wishy-washy, generic, vague stuff? Because I cannot give you specific legal advice, because I'm not your lawyer. We are not in lawyer-client relationship. If you want to enter to lawyer-client relationship, let's assess that. But when I'm giving you advice, not advice again, so general information, there's no lawyer-client relationship between you and me, and I can only give general information. From that perspective, it's disadvantage. Another advantage in living in the country governed by the rule of law and democracy, based on democratic principles, is that lawyers are needed. Okay.
Yeah.
Lack of better word, needed. That you have to engage lawyer in most of your activities in this life. Mm-hmm. Be it your birth, your death, your inheritance, your car accident, your doctor's negligence, your immigration to this country. So lawyers are intertwined in every transaction of this life in North America, for example, or in Europe. That's why it's good to have. If you want to become a lawyer, those listeners who are joining us today, it's a worthy effort. You should try if you like this area, and be ready that it's a very demanding area of practice, of career. And if you want to connect yourself for the next 15-20 years to providing legal services to people, go to law school, because it's hard, but it's worthy, again, because it's a 15-year investment, like 15-20 years of investment. And finally, being a lawyer doesn't have to be restricted by legal practice. As a lawyer, your skills are very applicable in any other fields of, as I said, any other transactions, be it finance, banking, insurance, whatever. Lawyers are involved, and your skill set would be needed.
Gotcha. Awesome. Like personally, I major in finance and economics, and I always, like, when I look at certain professions and opportunities in those fields, I look at it from the perspective of profit incentive. So people who are entering into the field of law, practicing law, they don't have to be afraid of that aspect, right? They can make money. They can just evolve in this field and also make it profitable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, if you look from the financial incentive side, if you do your job very well in any profession, you will be remunerated very well. Okay.
Right.
You will be compensated very well. But even in law, if you do a crappy job, you will not make money. You know, it's not guaranteed that you have a law degree now you will be printing money day and night. No, never. And it's, as I said, it's a business of law, and you have to be business minded, client, serving the client in the best possible and the most ethical way possible. Take care of your customers and be very straightforward with them, whether you can deliver something or you cannot deliver something. That's okay. When people come to us for legal guidance and advice, we assess them and we tell, you have bad chance or you have good chance. Even if we say, no, you cannot do this, it's a legal advice by itself, right? It saves you from trouble. For example, in immigration, When people come to me and I say, no, you don't qualify, they ask me, oh, why you say so? Can you not find a way? And I said, no, you are not fit to this program. This is the advice I give you, and this advice will prevent you from spending thousands of dollars in something that will never be successful. So that's a legal advice. Or I tell, yes, you have a good chance. We can try this. And ethically speaking and legally speaking, I cannot guarantee a result. So, and at the end of the day, it's always interaction. If you do your job well, you will be compensated very well in any profession, including legal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, and at the beginning, you had a really long, short overview of your career, of your background, but I'll be more specific in terms of questions, and the questions are going to be more related to the life abroad at this point. And I want you to elaborate on what country you started living abroad, like which country you started living abroad, and why did you choose that specific country?
Well, to study, I start my first foreign trip, visit was to Greece. I was in the first Uzbek national team for international humanitarian law competition in Greece back in 2003. That trip opened my mind. You know, Greece, European Union, how people live, how things are organized. I was really impressed, to be honest. And then I said, wow, that's an alternative. That's an alternative way of life. Then, of course, graduating from, University of Diplomacy in Tashkent, I wanted to go outside for my master's degree. Although I had very humble financial beginnings, I said I will have to get a scholarship, otherwise this will not work. So I did my best, and I got full scholarship through Soros Foundation, and went to Hungary, to Budapest, to study at an American university. It's a Central European University, is an American university in Hungary. So all the language of instruction is English, and I did my master's in law. That further widened my horizon, my worldview, and I said, wow, this is great. So I want to do more, so one by one I started to explore Europe. I worked in Vienna, in Austria, in the Netherlands, but Europe seemed to be, couldn't satisfy me enough, and I said, North America.
Why were you not?
Why?
Well, there's a business environment.
No, I think more societal dynamics there. There's always in Europe, there's always a main nation, and then there are immigrants like students and everybody else. The same I felt in Hungary. I felt the same in Netherlands. I felt the same in Austria. I said, well, even if I learn German or Dutch or Hungarian, I will be looked at and I will be perceived as non-Hungarian or non-Austrian, right? It's I don't fit in there. So, and Canada came to my mind. One of my very good friends in Hungary says, "Yeah, you speak English very well. You speak French quite on an advanced level at that time. Why don't you consider Canada?" Although, to be honest with you, United States never appealed to me. I don't know why, and now I understand why, because I was destined to come to Canada. Then I applied for Canadian immigration. I got my visa in 3 months, I think, very, very fast. And they made a mistake on my visa. They wrote my year of birth incorrectly, and I sent back to them, to the embassy, saying that this is incorrect. So it was extra 1 month to get things settled. Then I said, yeah, Canada is Canada, so let's go. I never questioned isn't it scary? Is there anyone that I know? No, I just packed my luggage and went. So Canada was my next destination. Although I love visiting all those countries that I was studying or living before.
Yeah.
But I think Canada feels like home after 15 years, almost 15 years of living in Canada. I think the biggest part of my life is spent in Canada. So 1/3 was until the age of 10, 11 in Tajikistan, then 1/3 in Uzbekistan for 12, 13 years, and now 15 years in Canada. So the Canadian portion of my life is increasing day by day.
Okay.
So that's, I think I found the right place, the right mentality. People never say that I'm foreigner in Canada, and they have no right to say so. I can defend myself very easily in terms of racist comments or hatred. There are bad apples in every society. In Canada is no exception, but we can defend ourselves here very easily, and the government is on our side. Multiculturalism is protected. I can remain as Uzbek as I want and be Canadian at the same time. So I will eat my osh, drink my choi, and I will listen to my shash maqam whenever I want. So osher al jurav for that matter.
Yeah. So you talked about your life in Europe. What was special about European countries? Because you said like you could generalize certain things about Europe, how they're structured, how life goes on, how the culture works. What is special about it? What's good and bad about living in Europe?
Living in Europe is is very convenient for one way. Is very convenient, very small area. The infrastructure is almost perfect. And very developed markets in terms of career, right? For example, London is the center. Frankfurt, Amsterdam, all of them are center of certain type of industries, and that's how you can associate Europe with. But my personal view, maybe I'm wrong. My personal view is that there's always two categories of people in Europe. One, born and raised local Anglo-Saxon, French, or Dutch, like core ethnicity, and the other group, whatever that group may be. Okay, there's always like that, and you can see that reflection in their politics, be it France, Britain, Netherlands, Austria, Germany. You can see that, you can feel it. It doesn't have to be politically correct, when you tell it. There is a distinction between us and them. Okay, there's always like that.
That's right.
More smarter societies, smarter in the sense that more advanced and smarter. Okay, more advanced and smarter societies like United States. Unfortunately, it's going lacking behind now. Canada, for example, they embrace diversity. They cherish it. So diversity is our strength, as we tell around the world, including Justin Trudeau, making it as a slogan. Diversity is our strength. It's never been our weakness. We are not concerned that our identity is being eroded. Our culture is being dominated by non-European culture or something like that. No, we embrace every single culture in Canada. That's the composition of the state of the future. The future country, the countries of the future must embrace diversity, whether they like it or not. Okay, Canada is on the liking side. We like diversity, we cherish diversity, and we will build everything based on that preference. And those people who do otherwise, be it Arab countries of the Middle East, or Asian countries, or European countries, doing otherwise will be really tough, and I think will be challenge for them in the future. Will be a roadblock. Yeah.
Okay, so you strictly believe in the power of globalization, that's future influence and cultures of the world. Awesome. That's amazing. So let's talk about Uzbek diaspora and Uzbek diaspora living in the countries where you lived before. How big is the Uzbek diaspora, for example, in Greece or in Netherlands or in all European countries?
I don't know. In Greece, I've never met an Uzbek because I was there for a very short period of time for the competition. I think in Turkey, there's a big growing Uzbek diaspora in Turkey, where I visit very often. In Germany, there are some Uzbek students. My friends live in Germany from Uzbekistan. And in Netherlands, I know some families there too. They settled in Netherlands for different reasons. I don't know how, they immigrated there, or they sought refugee there, or they studied there and so on. And I can only speak about Canada. In Canada, we are a rather small community. It's around 10,000 maximum, 10, 15,000 maximum. And, the next generation, my children are purely Canadian in terms of language or behavior or, mentality. Maybe you consider them ethnically Uzbek, but they consider themselves Canadian. So that in that perspective, Uzbek diaspora, although present, it could be, transforming into Canadian population very easily. Usually, that's the immigrant story: is that parents are immigrated to Canada, but the kids are already Canadian or American in your situation. The biggest ever Uzbek diaspora living permanently and legally in the Western world, I think it's United States. Of course, there are many millions in Russia, but that's not a Western world, right? In the West, I think United States is a leader in terms of hosting Uzbek diaspora, the largest diaspora in the world. And South Korea, mostly temporary workers and students, I guess, but permanent residents, I think United States is a leader in that sense. But we want to change that. I want to bring more, like 10,000 more Uzbeks to Canada in the next, 10 years. So
with your help, right?
Yeah, hopefully with our help or on their own. Yeah, they can do it on their own too.
It's just out of curiosity. It's my own question. What is your clientele base? What's the demographics of your clients? Mostly for people from Uzbekistan, from Europe, Asia?
No. Mostly, I would say up to 50-60% is our businesses and businessmen from Turkey, because we speak Turkish fluently. Our team is the largest Turkish-speaking legal team in Canada. There are 4 people who speak fluent, including myself and my wife. They're fluent in Turkish, and that's the biggest chunk of our clients. And then a lot of clients from India, and the growing number of clients from Vietnam. That's why we have a representative in Vietnam. And I would say Americas, like including Latin America and the US. Growing number of people from the US, they want to switch to Canada because, one, immigration restrictions. Second is the prospect of becoming American citizen seems to be so distant. It takes years and years of efforts to become a US citizen. Whereas in Canada, if you do things right, within the first 5 years, you become Canadian citizens.
Gotcha. So we're gonna go back to our questions regarding Uzbek diaspora. How important do you think it is to find compatriots in a different country? And do you try to find compatriots, for example, in European countries and Canada? And why is it important?
Well, for me, it could be a very personal issue, but I really like spending time with my compatriots. Maybe sharing meal or sharing stories, finding a way, showing them some how things are done in that particular country. I believe in the strength of diaspora, although some people stay away from diaspora. When they move, they stay away. That's their personal choice, and I respect it. However, my approach is, at the end of the day, we are Uzbeks, and in our good days or bad days, we lean on our community, and we seek help from them. Especially in these challenging times like COVID, right? And I think it's very important to be in touch with your community if you value your identity. Okay, if you're cosmopolitan, you don't really care about your values or ethnicity, which is okay. Some people want to transform. Okay, the reason they move to Canada is to become Canadian, purely in every sense of this word. That's okay too. But if you want to keep connection, your relationship with your ethnicity, with your language, with your religion, I think diaspora and your own local community helps a lot. And again, I'm coming back and I'm advertising Canada again, but in Canada, government supports the idea of keeping your identity intact. You shouldn't lose your identity. Again, that's the statement of diversity being our strength, not weakness.
Yeah, makes sense. And you also made a really good statement when you were being interviewed by a guy on YouTube, and you mentioned it. Canadian culture requires multiculturalism, and American culture requires assimilation.
Yeah.
And can you emphasize on that?
I will. Yeah. Before I will make my pre-election statement now. You guys in the US will be voting very soon. There will be elections in a couple of days. Well, in the US, as you know, when you move to US, you have to transform. You have to go through metamorphosis to become an American. Cliche word, an American. We speak American in America. This kind of, we speak American. In Canada, that's not the case. In Canada, you don't have to melt away and become some kind of a Canadian.
Yeah.
You have to maintain yourself, transform in a good way. Yes, you respect the culture, the diversity, you embrace the tolerance of this society. You will not bring and create your mini Uzbekistan in Canada, of course. That's unreasonable. But at the same time, you become Canadian. You don't have to lose your identity. So in that scenario, in that comparison, I think United States requires you to fully melt into the society, assimilate totally. But in Canada, that's not the case. We embrace multiculturalism. We want you to stay Uzbek in Canada, but you are a Canadian citizen. That's okay. We can fit into our minds and perception these two notions of being Uzbek Canadian. Okay, in the United States, there are some accommodation. There is some accommodation made. For example, African American, Hispanic American, right? But again, there's a very heavy pressure on you becoming assimilated through many avenues. For example, politics, everything. It forces you to assimilate. If that's okay, that's fine with you. That's okay. U.S. is a good place to be. But if you want to preserve your identity and be living in the best country in the world, Canada could be the better choice. Yeah,
I would argue that.
That's fair. There's always space for argument and debate. But
Okay, gotcha. Next question is: how active are you in Uzbek communities? If you're active.
Well, define active. I don't know. Define active. I think I'm quite involved with the Uzbeks here,
Yeah.
and try to help them, guide them in terms of legal stuff. What I can help with. I attend Choykhona and Osh events, of course. But yeah, for example, this Sunday we have our gap, the regular gap.
Yeah.
Gap, yeah. If you, it's a Uzbek Canadian gap. I think I'm very, very much involved in especially when some help is needed, or if I can help, I will be happy to help. If I cannot help, I say I'm sorry, I cannot help. So clear communication is important. So,
yeah.
Well, of course, I have my, as you know, Khasan John, the business, family, and communal activities take a toll on you. It's demanding. You gotta be, you have to allocate some time for your family, for your business, and for resting, and then for the community. Unfortunately, for good or bad, we live in a very individual society in the West, right? It's not a communal society. It's very individual. People try to solve their problems on their own rather than asking for help immediately. So it depends.
Awesome. Yeah. So, okay. You mentioned that America requires assimilation, right?
Yeah.
So to stay true to your Uzbek identity, what cultural values do you think you should hold on to, or you hold on to?
Oh wow, that's a difficult one. I have some difficulty with my children speaking Uzbek. I think language is the key.
Language, yeah.
Although I try to speak Uzbek to my children, it's always so convenient to speak to them in English, to speak English, because they get it right. They get it immediately. In Uzbek, you have to translate, you have to explain, you have to elaborate. So I think language, I will do my best to hold on to the language. I put some Uzbek songs to them, Uzbek movies, like old ones are very popular. I think and try to capture that Uzbek sense of humor. There's something unique in Uzbek sense of humor for Askia, and it's really in North America the humor is plain, right? Like it's straight, plain humor.
Yeah.
In Uzbekistan, it's so multi-dimensional. You interpret it, you put your own 2 cents into that Askia statement, and then you laugh. Everybody understands the same Askia in different ways. It's funny. That's something to capture. Language, the sense of humor, and of course, if you brought up in a religious family, religion is very, very important, especially when you have children to bring. You have responsibility over your children. If your way of life and your beliefs require that, religion is very, very important. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So important to hold on to those cultures, but meanwhile, we know that every culture has bads and goods, right? So what cultural values do you think we as Uzbeks in a foreign country have to change or have to adjust?
Uzbeks living. Can you clarify? Uzbeks living in the West have to adjust?
Yeah, like for example, you come from an Eastern culture, right? And you go to the West to, let's say, Canada, and you live there. But you know that there's different cultures around you, right? You have to communicate with them. You have to be maybe tolerant, maybe open-minded, accepting. Yeah. What is your take on that?
Well, my personal challenge is the following. In our culture, in the East, in Uzbek, let's say, when parents tell you to do something, you either do it or you get smacked, right? It's like that. I was brought up with that culture, but now being a parent, I cannot implement that. I literally cannot. It's not only illegal to smack your child in every opportunity, but also it's impractical. It doesn't really help. So that shift from being a very dictatorial parent, let's say it's my way or highway kind of thing. No, you have to really explain it to your child. That aspect you have to turn off when you move to the West. When it comes to your parenting skills, I think you have to evolve. You have to elevate yourself to the level of, dear daughter, dear son, you need to do this. Why you need to do this? It's not like, don't do this and that's it. I'm still in that process. I'm trying to improve my skills, parenting skills. I think that's very key for Uzbek diaspora. Why? Because our kids developed and they are being brought up in this society, not Uzbek society. That's the problem. And excuse me. And the practical side of it is that if you want your children to succeed in this society, you have to act differently. You have to prepare them to this society, not the society in Uzbekistan. Okay, that's the challenge. You could put that argument in many aspects of your life: marriage, education, cleaning up your room, washing your dishes, and so on. It's many aspects, but I think that's very important personally. And of course, business mind. When I deal with many businessmen who come to Canada, they have to shift their business understanding too. In Canada and in the West, price is not the only determinant. Okay, here relationship is determined and trust is determining. Okay, for example, I had a Turkish client who brought marble from Turkey, marble items, let's say tiles or something. He brought the best marble that could be found in Turkey, right? The very shiny, very exclusive, but he couldn't sell it in Canada. Why? Because Canadians are they want simplicity and plainness. They don't want like a chateau style, mambo jumbo houses, right? It's a plain house that could be easily sold from one owner to the other. You gotta go plain. You cannot be exclusive. Canadians don't want to distinguish themselves from their neighbor. The same. The houses are the same. You cannot, there are people driving golden color Lamborghini, but that's funny for us, right? Why would you spend your money on golden color Lamborghini? So that's the business mind has to change too. And so personal and business, you have to shift. Canadians and the US, Americans, they could pay you premium for your organic, ethical products, right? When it's ethically grown and so on. So price is not the only factor in the business. So maybe in Uzbekistan or in Turkey, the price is the driving force.
Better.
Here in developed economies and developed market, you gotta distinguish yourself with something other than pricing. Okay, so that's another thing that take into account when dealing with the West or moving to the West.
Awesome. I love your advice. I personally take this, especially the first one, because I'm not yet a parent, but
yes, learning.
And also when it comes to business, I really admire that. I can relate to that. And I personally consider you as a very active member of the Uzbek diaspora, living especially in the West, right? Because you have a lot of very useful, insightful content on YouTube and on other platforms, I believe. And you share your experiences. You're very dedicated. You're very sincere. You can read the comments. They're all commenting, oh, they're a very sincere person. I love him. I love your energy, And my next question is, in what ways do you plan to contribute to the betterment of our home country?
All right. That's, at the very beginning, like 4 years ago, when a new president came to Uzbekistan, everybody, including myself, were in euphoria, right? Wow, things will be different now. We will change the world. And to a certain extent that died out, to be honest. And as I said, as comments, my listeners always mention, I'm very straightforward in my statements. Yes, it died out, but that doesn't mean that we have to rely and depend only one change, the top president's views, right? If you rely on personalities are not reliable. Okay, systems is reliable. System should be built, and the system will be reliable. For example, let's take U.S. When Barack Obama came, the system was the same, right? When Trump came, the system is the same. People changed, systems remain. Systems are more reliable than people. So my idea and my contribution to other organizations and expert groups like Büyük Gelecek and so on was about the system, not about the person. Okay, person is not reliable. We are all mortals, at the end of the world, at the end of the day, we leave this world. So we have to focus on building the systems, because the reason we are struggling in Uzbekistan right now, because the system is so well built. The old bad system is so well established in our minds and in our everyday life. Now changing the system requires more than just one person. Okay, that's why it's not about whether we like it, we don't like it. You can do a lot of arguments about the personalities. I'm more concerned about the systems. Education, right? Maybe the governmental system, the tax report system. How we report tax? Do we pay tax? We don't pay tax. Where is the money is going? How credits are being spent or not spent, and so on. If you want to change radically in Uzbekistan, radically in a positive sense, from very shift, totally shift. I think it's my personal opinion. The people who were associated with the previous system have to be removed. Have to be sent to retirement. And thank you for their contribution and service to the country. Please leave. The new generation should come in. Yes, it will not be easy. No change is easy. No change is easy. However, that's a necessary things to be done. When I looked at the changes that started 4 years ago, I was hoping that it will be systemic change, not a cosmetic change. Okay, not a cosmetic change. Cosmetic change is nothing. You can put this person here, that person there, but now the system is the same. The way we cycle, the bicycle is the same. You got to come up with a new system, new style, new approach. That could, yes, for almost 30 years we were fed by the idea that it should be gradual transformation, it should be evolution, not revolution. Now it's time for totally different approach. Okay. Now from that perspective, I think at the moment it's from where I stand and where I look at it, when I look at it, I think we have to do so many changes so fast if we want to succeed in the next 30 years. Okay, so address the system, and systems are more reliable than personalities. If you put one person that decides everything, every needy greedy thing, and everybody is looking up to for an initiative to come down, that's not a reliable system. Okay, and nobody will be coming with big money into that kind of environment, because today that person is there, tomorrow that person is not there. And the investment, the financial aspect of it, investments are not short term, they are long term, especially infrastructural investment, infrastructure and invest like bonds and all other financial instruments. These are not for 5 or 3 or 2 years. These are for 15, 20, 30 years. And that's why And COVID, from my perspective, COVID gives us the very unique chance one more time to do that, to completely transform Uzbekistan once and for all. Once and for all. Yes, it will be painful. Is today easy? No, today is still painful. That pain is there. Look at the society. Society is struggling economically, financially, psychologically. That's why we cannot get rid of pain. We are feeling the pain anyways. Let's do a transformational change. For a lack of better word, radical change. Otherwise, it will not work. It's the same thing from I don't know 30 years ago. The same mentality, the same logic, the same of modus operandi. You know, the mode of operation is the same. That's why coming back to your question, what's my contribution to betterment of situation in Uzbekistan? I would love to dedicate more time if it brings meaningful change. Okay, I don't want to waste my time for rhetorics or populist ideas, populist initiatives, or protocols. This was a so and so expert gathered together online. They talked about many things. No, it's enough. We had that for almost 4 years now. We've been speaking, we've been talking. Now the time is, can I make a meaningful change? I would love to make a meaningful change. If I cannot, then I will step aside, let others do that. Let other more skillful, more knowledgeable people do that. That's my approach. And sometimes at the very beginning, I was very active and passionate and stuff. Now I became more realistic, and I transformed in the last four years. To be honest, I changed, and it's the human nature. We change, but the change should be for the benefit. If we dedicate our lives for the service of people, then the change should be radical and very in depth. It's not cosmetic change. Cosmetic change doesn't really help. It should be in depth. So that's my passionate speech about the change in Uzbekistan.
I can see your passion when you're talking about it, and I'm sure you can give a lot of professional and insights to the people in Uzbekistan in all fields. Okay, and I can say our main body part that concerns Uzbek diaspora is over, and we can talk a little more. I think more interesting questions, maybe. Let's see. Based on my own research and observation, I found out that there are some topics that you're passionate about. One is aviation and law.
Aviation.
So could you talk about it a little more?
Aviation.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, my father is a career pilot. Now he's retired, and he's my childhood, my whole life was associated with airplanes. I can show you my airplanes here. So I have a bunch of airplanes there. So every time I made a deal about like certain airlines, they used to give me one model aircraft, right? So I have quite a collection here. Some of them are broken by my son, so that's okay. Now, aviation. My father used to say that there's no person, but he would say there's no man, but I will say there's no person in this life, in this world, who either didn't write a poem or never dreamt of flying. Okay, these two things you have done. You wrote poems to your loved ones, right? For example, the girl that you fall in love, you write poems and trying, or either you dream of flying. Okay, this is two realities of our lives. Now, I always dreamt of flying, and I always wanted to associate myself with aviation, with flight. As a child, but as I grew up, and I said, okay, first of all, in Uzbekistan, you have to be perfect human being with eyesight, vision 20/20. You have to be perfect. My eyesight is a bit, weak because maybe I read too many books, or because it's genetics. I don't know. So I couldn't become a pilot, and I realized it, and I said, well, I will go into law. And at the end of the day, wandering in the different areas of law, I ended up with transportation and aviation law. Most of my books are about aviation here. Then God gifted me an opportunity to work for Bombardier Aerospace, one of the leading aircraft manufacturers. Bombardier Aerospace, a Canadian manufacturer, competitor to Boeing and Airbus in certain extent. So I lived my dream at Bombardier because I could see how aircraft is built, how it's sold, how it's maintained, what kind of business plan should an airline have, and so on. So I loved it, and I'm happy that I connected law with aviation. So and returning back to your question about Uzbekistan, I gave a lot of feedback and my thoughts about how to improve Uzbek aviation, because Uzbekistan during Soviet times has been an aviation nation. Okay, we manufactured aircraft in Tashkent, but that was lost during the last 30 years for some reasons. And Uzbekistan Airways is where my father used to work, and I really care about Uzbekistan Airways and how it's managed, how it's mismanaged, and where we stand now. So I always try to, I think I gained a lot of knowledge about how aviation industry works, how airlines work. So I don't want to lose that knowledge that I gained and use it for the prosperity of others, including Uzbekistan Airways. I think President Mirziyoyev is trying to do a lot, but to be, with all due respect, he's not an expert in aviation, and he has never worked in aviation for that matter, and maybe he needs to find someone credible enough, motivated enough, and knowledgeable, experienced enough to manage the aviation industry of Uzbekistan. Young enough, to be honest, because the aviation is such a radically changing industry. Any mistake will cost you a lot of margin loss. True. Okay, it's something like that. So aviation is always my passion, and although COVID-19 hit very hard on the industry, but I think it will bounce back as a phoenix from ashes. Will be very beautiful, hopefully.
Awesome. I like how passion for aviation started from like a childhood dream,
I used to sit in the pilot's cockpit all the time when my father flew. I used to go in, see how pilots work. It's very different dynamics there. It seems like an easy job, but it's not. It's
true.
A demanding job.
Yeah, I believe so. All right, awesome. And I know that you are a very analytical person. You analyze every step you take, right?
I do.
Yeah, and you talked about daydreaming, making plans, and having ambitions. And I'm sure your opinion, your insights will be very useful for our audience in terms of that, because that's the fundamental thing we have to do when we're trying to achieve anything, right? We need to have an ambition. We need to daydream. We have to plan.
Yeah.
And I want you to talk about it, how important it is in your life and how it contributed to your life.
Well, it's very important. I think I'm a daydreamer all the time. I imagine a lot of things when it comes to business, my child, my family life, and my country, Uzbekistan, Canada. I dream a lot. A daydream. It's not like empty dreams. I try to say, wow, it would be great to achieve this way, that way, and so on. And I think great things in the history were invented or created by daydreamers. You can see a lot of evidence on that. Dreaming is the key component of being human. Humans dream.
Yeah.
Humans dream about future, and they want to achieve that point in the future. Although, and then you have to dream big. It's a cliche, but I will tell it's a dream. If you dream 1,000, you will definitely pass 500 or 700. Although you may not achieve 1,000, that's fine, but you will end up more than 500. That's for sure. So that's my objective. And second is the human beings at our level of civilization, we haven't yet understood how our brains, what's the capacity of our brain, right? Dreaming happens here, and maybe it's my very weak theory is maybe we are transmitting, by dreaming, we are transmitting energy, certain energy into the cosmos, into the environment.
Yeah.
And that environment bounces back to us, very famous Uzbek proverb. There's a saying in Uzbek that hikmat izlaganga hikmattir dunyo, zillat izlaganga zillattir dunyo. Yeah, it means that whatever you seek in this life, whatever you dream of in this life, you will achieve. If you dream negative, you will get the negative. If you dream positive, you get positive. So I think I've learned through many examples in my life that daydreaming is important, but it's not the only thing that brings you success. Daydreaming is an initial stage, then it moves you, it sets motion in your life, and you have to move forward. You can dream of becoming a Harvard Law School student, let's say, but if you don't study English, that's a dream. It's no use. But is it achievable? Yes. Look around you. People are studying at Harvard, Oxford, Stanford, Cambridge, whatever place you want to go. It's just one example. That's why I think dreaming is fundamental to human success in any aspect of their lives. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And the next question concerns education. Not only education, but women's education. You mentioned that women's education is more important than men's education.
Yes.
So
yes.
Won't you elaborate that?
Well, what I mean by that, when I say women education is more important than man's education, I have no intention to belittle women. Okay, first of all, I don't think women need more education because they are less. You see what I mean? I don't want to belittle women by saying that.
Yeah.
I want to say that at this stage of human development, of human society, and many countries, majority countries of the world, women have lack of education. It's not the lack of desire to get educated, it's the lack of opportunities and so which means that almost 50% of our human race is not getting enough education. Men, more or less, are getting that. If you go with the general statistics, general median statistics. So let's take Uzbekistan. In Uzbekistan, women have less opportunities for certain reasons, traditions, culture, norms, unwritten rules, and all this stuff. I think to develop in Uzbekistan specifically, we have to bet on women education. For example, because educated women produce educated children, offsprings. Unfortunately, that's the structure of our society, that man spends time mostly earning money, he's a bread earner, and woman is spending more time with the children. If you have educated woman, she can go to work too. She can contribute. Like 50% of population is not given a chance to contribute. Okay, so that's in that perspective. Education for women is very important. If you give me a choice between man or woman education, I would go with woman education, because that's where we prosper. The mothers will give birth to the future, to future generation. Prophets were born by mothers, geniuses were born by mothers. So we have to take care of the mothers, and then we will take care of the humanity. I think somebody said, so it's not my words, but take care of the mothers and you'll take care of the humanity. Education is the key. Education gives women independence. Education gives them something to rely on in terms of something happens to the husband. Maybe the husband passes away, some tragedy. But woman has to stand on her own feet. At that time, woman is not prepared because she's not educated or she's not skilled. Education doesn't mean diploma. Let me correct that. It doesn't mean diploma, but it means that opportunity to explore, self-develop, and educate themselves. I think we will survive only if we allow and create opportunities to our women and girls to study at the very top levels, at least as equal as men, at least as equal as men.
Yeah, awesome. I like how you approach this question in a diplomatic way. As a lawyer, be careful. I like it.
It's a very sensitive topic. It's.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. And I know that you are a big reader, and I know that you really care about continuous education, the importance of reading in our life, and how it contributes to our growth in life. Can you talk about that?
Well, the only statement I can make, very brief, is leaders are readers. That's the statement I learned from somewhere. I can't remember, but reading is way better than watching YouTube videos or other videos. It ignites here. It sparks in your brain. That's the human. I don't know. We've evolved for millions of years, maybe by this kind of communication, storytelling, right? Storytelling, reading. So I try to read as much as I can based on my busy schedule, but I always read Harvard Business Review's editions from cover to cover. I have one here. I was reading an article about working from anywhere philosophy. It's a great article. I suggest that you guys read too. This is the latest version. And it says every article is equals to one book, right? They put a succinct version of the book and the research they did for years, and this is published 4 times a year, and you can get the gems. If you read this, you will get the overview, and then you can go deeper to the book they refer to and get that book. And I'm a true believer of self-education. Universities and other educational institutions give you very basic fundamentals. Then you have to build upon those fundamentals and constantly read. And not necessarily read something. For example, as a lawyer, I don't read legal stuff. I don't really like reading legal stuff. I read non-legal stuff like finance or IT, self-development, leadership skills, time management, and all this stuff gives me. If I read one book, I get one idea maybe from that book, and I try to implement. I think you will win. You will achieve a lot by reading. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm sorry to say that, but our time is restricted, and I know that you're a very busy man, and you you should spend some time with your family in your weekend. But let's take a few questions from the audience, and we can wrap it up quickly.
Sure.
So, Mukharamoy Kakhramonova asked the question, what is your favorite book and why? You already answered, but could you give let's say 3 books that you have read that influenced you most?
That's a difficult question, Muharram Khan, because my favorites always change. That's favorite three books, they always change as I read.
Yeah.
At the moment, one of the most favorite books is Think Like a Rocket Scientist by Ozan Varol. Ozan Varol is a Turkish national who was in part. He's a rocket scientist. He was a part of the Mars mission, sending the rovers to Mars, and he wrote a book. You can check it out. It's very good. I like it. I try to read it, but most of that book I try to listen when I'm driving through Audible. That's one impacted me a lot, and still gives me a lot of ideas. I return to that book from time to time. And there is another book, as far as I remember, the title is The Magic of Thinking Big. Yeah, The Magic of Thinking Big is a great book. That's one I really liked. And there's a book called Sales Machine by an American author. He passed away, but he has very good books, and one is Sales Machine. And the last year I read a book called Pumpkin Plan by another author.
Interesting name.
Markowitz, I guess his last name I can't remember. So Pumpkin Plan. Basically, that it says you have to focus on big items in your business rather than focusing on small items, small clients, let's say. Pumpkin Plan. You know those competition where one huge pumpkin wins a competition?
Yeah.
In Canada, in the US and in Canada, there's a pumpkin fair competition. And there are huge pumpkins that win that first place. How do you think they grow that pumpkin? Is the whole idea is those farmers, they start growing several pumpkins, but when they see one pumpkin has a big potential, they cut other pumpkins and focus on that pumpkin. That's why the pumpkin that gets the first place is the winner. So that's the philosophy that I learned from that book. There are many books. I can't remember the titles now, but I can share under the link of the video the books that I read last year. I have a screenshot of all the books. You can see that.
Awesome. Yeah. It sounds like micromanagement doesn't always work. So you have to especially as an entrepreneur, you have to focus mostly on major stuff.
Yeah, and you have to defer to the experts. You cannot be experts in every field, right? You have to come up with a team, and team will solve many problems. It's not just one person who's let's say, team leader. You got to defer to others.
Awesome. Yeah. So the next question is something that's interesting for you as well. I think where most Uzbeks live in Canada.
There are two regions in Toronto. One is called Etobicoke, where we are located at the moment. There's a big so-called mahalla in Toronto. There's another one in the north, in the Russian-speaking part of the city. It's called North York. There are a lot of Uzbeks there too. Yeah, there are mahallas, but not like as obvious as in Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, it's like typical Uzbek mahalla. When you walk, you can hear Uzbek music. You can see women dressed in Uzbek dresses, but not as obvious as in Brooklyn. We have some mahallas here too.
Yeah, as a Brooklyn resident, I can confirm that.
Yes.
Yeah. So another interesting question. How is Uzbek weddings organized in Canada, and how does it look like?
Oh, like typical Uzbek, like pre-COVID, before COVID, it was like very busy, hundreds of people in the wedding halls. It's typical Uzbek celebration, very typical. But of course, the amount of food is not comparable. In Uzbekistan, we eat on the wedding day. You eat from the morning till the end of the day. in Uzbekistan, it's quite, in Canada, the Uzbek weddings are very typical of others. But now Uzbeks have learned to be more practical. For example, instead of giving gifts, that you give, dollar bills in an envelope and just put it in the box. It's basically a support for the newlywed couple. They will start their lives, and financial backing would be fine. Yeah, would be helpful.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay, I think that's gonna be the last question.
Yeah.
Do you offer lawyer service with only Express Entry or with Arima too? So.
Yeah, Quebec program. Well, our law firm specializes only in business immigration programs, and Express Entry has a business immigration aspect when it comes to executive Express Entry.
Right.
And in Quebec, we don't specialize in Quebec province, in the province of Quebec, because Quebec has a very autonomous region of Canada. They have their own immigration programs, although we can represent our clients in Quebec, but we don't specialize in that. One other aspect is specializing in one area is better than specializing in all areas. So we specialize on businesses, bringing businesses to Canada, and business owners, entrepreneurs, and investors. So this is our aspect. We don't unfortunately specialize in these programs. Yeah.
Awesome. That was a that was a very long conversation.
Yes, it took 1.5 hours.
Yeah, and we really appreciate your time and effort and your attention. That means a lot to us, since our mission is connecting Uzbek professionals living abroad, working and studying for mutual value and growth. And I'm sure our audience had a lot of good insights and advice from this dialogue. And I hope this conversation will be ongoing. And we as a team wish you a lot of success. We hope that you stay healthy in the quarantine times, and I hope your business grows at an exponential rate.
Thank you.
You keep making profits and keep contributing to the Uzbek diaspora wherever they are. And thanks again.
Thank you, Khasan Bey. And I wish Uzbek Diaspora, the organization, all the best in what they do. You're doing excellent job trying to unite people who are outside of Uzbekistan, and I hope the ideas and statements that I made today didn't offend anyone, and I hope it inspires someone. If it does, if they do, I'm very happy to contribute in the future too. Thank you. Keep up the good work. And the last thing is never stop dreaming. Okay, never stop dreaming and set your life in motion. Set it in motion. That's the biggest key. Okay.
Awesome. Thank
you very much. Have a great day. Stay safe.
Enjoy your weekend. Thank you.
Bye-bye.